Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people, fellow humans. Ooh, lighting, lighting, lighting. Okay, that's better. I'm told for posterity, for the AI agent, the future AI agent of me. Ooh, hot. The future AI agent of me who will take up all of these thousands of videos, suck them down, ingest them, digest them, process them, and then create an artificial me, Max Hedron. Lighting is important. Okay, well, we know that. All right, moving on. So today is Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. Boy, time is racing. So it's Wednesday, which means it is the volunteers breakfast for our orphans and widows, planning the Thanksgiving feast in a couple weeks. Good system. On the 19th. And hopefully the pancake breakfast on the 22nd. Good system. Why not? I can't get this right. But here we are, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers, we band of bros, we brand of bra, we brand of yins, as they say in Pittsburgh. Today's reading is about, are you a disciple or a follower? Do you walk alongside Jesus or do you follow Jesus? Neither one is bad unless you proclaim to be a disciple, but you're really just a follower. Disciples had a closer relationship. So that would be, according to today's reading, that would be like Peter, James, and John versus the other apostles. All apostles are created equal, but some are more equal. Per who? George Orwell. Right. Animal Farm. Ding, ding, ding. What do we have for him, Johnny? So today's reading has to do with that. Does anybody care what today's reading is? Today's reading. Today's reading is, okay, who stole today's reading? Sorry. Today's reading, Luke 14:25 through 33. Luke 14:25 through 33. The difference between being a disciple and a follower. Jesus is saying you can't be a disciple unless you're willing to do A, B, and C. And they're pretty stringent. They're pretty tough. The standard, the bar has been raised. Perfectly okay to be a follower, but not to be a follower who says they're a disciple. Okay, moving right along. What is our theme of today? Addiction. That's the problem. There's the rub. There's the rub. That's what makes a calamity of so long life. All right. Who said that? Hamlet. Hamlet said that in his soliloquy. Not speaking about addiction, but there's the rub. What dreams may calm. Okay, anyway, moving along. Okay, what does our advice from an 80-year-old? Once in a while, take the scenic path. Take the scenic route. Once in a while, take that. Don't always take the route you should take, given the circumstances. Could be the hard route, could be the short route, could be the uphill, could be the straight downhill. The best path is not usually the scenic path. Once in a while, take the scenic path. So what does that mean? Well, it's the one it's the one I'd like to do just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. Vote for fish just for the hell of it. Okay. Next, Seth Godin. Landlords and tenants. Landlords collect rent. Tenants pay it. Landlords own an asset that increases in value over time. Tenants have the freedom to move on. If you're building a business, it pays to own an asset. Your labor doesn't scale well, and success can be exhausting. It's better to be Google than it is hoping for traffic from Google. And it's better to own trust and attention than it is to have to borrow or lease it. What do you own? Do you own shelf space, a proprietary technology or machine, a significant reputation, a well-trafficked place online or off? Is it possible to rearrange your day to produce just a little more ownership each day? If you were busy paying rent, it's often difficult to find the focus and resources to build an asset and to cycle, and so the cycle persists. If you're not sure where you stand, you're probably a tenant. Okay, so build an asset, something that increases in value. Definitely something to ponder. Okay, where are we at? Week 1, day number 3. Day 3 in week 1. Day 3, addiction. What we think about addiction is probably wrong. Everything we think we know about addiction is wrong. Is the title. Johan Hari is the presenter. And this is a great one, a big one. Our reason for watching it is to understand it again. If we know who we are and we not know why we act the way we do, we can dial in who we need to be right now. So understanding addiction is very important. What is addiction? Well, it could be unconscious behavior that is detrimental. What is unconscious behavior? A habit, a bad habit. Addiction could be considered like a really bad habit. And what is a habit? Unconscious behavior. How does a habit get formed? By repetition. We don't realize we do it. Hey, how'd that cigar get in my hand? Or for me, there's a plate of oatmeal raisin cookies, and wow, I've eaten 5 already? Gosh, I only remember seeing them there on the plate. I don't remember anything after the first bite of the first one. Unconscious behavior, a bad habit. A habit that we kind of think we've surrendered to it. In other words, I can't help it. You put that meth pipe in front of me. Note, not me, but for some people, you pull out the pipe, and it's just a matter of time. I can't say no. Or as they say, if you hang out at the barber shop long enough, eventually you'll get a haircut. So, how important is it for us to understand addiction? It is vital. It is vital because not all addiction is equal. Some addiction is considered tolerable, not bad, good. If somebody's an artist, a painter, and they sacrifice good personal relationships to create art, is that bad? Well, maybe for the people around them, maybe for their family and friends, it's bad, but for the rest of us, people elsewhere and over time, is bad. If you destroy your life, that's both to the detriment of your family and friends and those around you, and to those who come later, probably. I guess we can think of an example of somebody who was a bad person who had an addiction, and the addiction took them down, so that was actually good for everyone else. Count Dracula, let's say. So he was addicted to killing people and drinking their blood. So that was his addiction, and if his addiction caused him to die, that was probably good for people, but it would be kind of an extreme example. Most people can be redeemed. How do we remove the addiction? Well, in our neuroscience-oriented approach, when we break it down to what's going on in our brains, which we'll learn about next week, addiction involves the release of certain neurohormones, neurotransmitters, chemicals, and those chemicals cause us to feel a certain way strongly, maybe unconsciously, and those feelings lead to behavior, which could be drinking or other drugs, and the outcome of that behavior is bad. Okay? So if we wind it back, go from the outcome to the behavior to the trigger, and focus on that, you could say, well, if we never pull back the trigger, if the trigger doesn't occur, the release of neurohormones, neurotransmitters will not occur. The overwhelming feeling, especially unconscious feeling, the thing that causes one to keep playing at the slot machine, well, when they've gone well past the amount of money they can afford for entertainment, just the unconscious one more time, the dopamine that's driving the behavior. If we go back to that and say, what if at that moment in time, instead of this, that? Instead of this, that. And for AA, what the training is when you feel, when you've been triggered, and so you notice, oh, I need a drink, right? Because as a good alcoholic, you don't have the bottles of alcohol around you. They're not around you. So you have the impulse to drink. And in AA, they condition you that when you notice you have that impulse, do one of two things. Call friend, call sponsor, go to a meeting. Boom, just do it. Call, because you know what the outcome is going to be. So boom, when you notice that trigger, do something about it immediately. Okay? Now, when you go from being triggered to calling a sponsor or going to a meeting, when you do that, the release of neurotransmitters, neurohormones, I'll just say chemicals, the release of chemicals in your body changes from this to that. And let's just say this is dopamine, because that's one of the major ones that causes you to want to drink. So we go from dopamine to something else. And that something else includes oxytocin. When you call a sponsor and your sponsor is comforting you, you are not releasing dopamine, the desire to drink. You're releasing oxytocin. Somebody cares about me, and I care about them. I don't want to let them down. And they care about me. So we're going to get through this. Note, let's go back. Some of the triggers: halt, hunger, anger, lonely, tired. So those are triggers, possible triggers. If you get in a situation where you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, you're tired, those could trigger the desire to drink or use drugs. Fast forward back to where we were. So in an NA setting, it's when you notice you want to do this behavior that you really don't want to do that. In a neuroscience approach, it would be when you notice this, figure out how to release other chemicals. How to release other chemicals. And it could be go to the gym, release endorphins, rechannel the dopamine into something different so you feel better. If you are Catholic, it could be, say, a rosary. Could be pull out your photo album of your kids and grandkids. Call one of your kids, call one of your grandkids, do this, get on some other type of hotline where people in even more distress call you. Right? What are we doing? We're just changing. So from a neuroscience oriented approach, we change the release of the chemicals. So instead of releasing the ones that drive us to drink, we release the ones that lead to different behavior that is better behavior. It could be a video. It could be a simple video of someone sacrificing or some great accomplishment, some war movie, Rocky, the end of Rocky, watching the last bits of Rocky, projecting yourself into that scene, or probably not The Notebook, but something like that. Okay, so why do we care? Why do we care about addiction? Well, because we're trying to answer those two questions. Who am I? Why do I behave the way I do? And if I understand those, if I have an idea of those, a concept of that, then I have the ability to dial in who I need to be. So if I have an addiction to something that's bad, alcohol, drugs, smoking, gambling, pornography, I don't know, whatever. If I have an addiction to that, a compulsion to do those kinds of things, especially unconsciously after I'm triggered, fighting with people, say that one, picking fights. If I have a tendency to do that, number one, avoid the things that trigger that. But number two, train ourselves to, when we find ourselves in that condition, to do something different, to release different chemicals. And I would say meditation could be a thing that you do if you can get into a deep thing of meditation, some kind of breathing, some kind of physical movement type of thing where you have to concentrate and bam, we immediately release other chemicals. Or calling someone, going to see someone, doing something to help someone else would be a good thing. My thinking would be, If you went into a church, if you had that compulsion, you could drive over to a church, go inside the church and pray. That would probably do it, but it's not convenient. It's not an easy thing to do. We want to find the simplest, easy thing to do, and then build better habits so we don't trigger the release of the chemicals that cause us to do the bad behavior, the stuff we don't want to do. Johann Hari really breaks it down well. And we're just kind of taking what he said and kind of building more practical things on it. Whereas he's theoretical with very good examples. Okay, how do I apply that to my own life? Is how we're doing. Anyway, that's it for today. See you at the breakfast. Shivas